Hello everybody. This is going to be a general discussion and a specific discussion about setting up your computers both at Midstate and at home for Civil 3D using WDOT requirements as are delivered to you out at their website in the FTP roadway design files. First and foremost, a review. If you are in My Computer, you map a drive by doing Tools, Map Network Drive, going to the drive you want and going through the mapping. Be very specific. Do not learn I or whatever. Try to learn back to the base of the name of the actual drive. That said, when you're setting up your computer for My Computer, you should always set the folder options up to be show hidden files or folders, or much of the stuff we do next is not going to make sense. That said, when you sit at a new computer and then start AutoCAD, finish that out, start Civil 3D, it will not do the Civil 3D install correctly. There is an issue and it can be worked through, but the workaround is this. We have placed out in what heretofore is known the K drive out in Civil 3 development, local fix. We have placed a support directory out there that you should replace into your C documents and settings. So I'll leave that up. So this is the first step, is once you've installed Civil 3D and you set your tools to look right so you can see hidden files and folders, you go to My Computer, you go to C, you go to Documents and Settings, you go to your number. In this case, mine is that number there. You go to Application Data, you go to Autodesk, you go to Civil 3D 2010, you double check that there is a support directory there and that it is filled with things. You rename this or delete it and then you replace it with that directory, which was the local fix directory. So you're going to replace this support subdirectory, get rid of it or rename it, and replace it with the local fix one by pulling or copying and pasting. Once you have done that, you close out and you double click on AutoCAD Civil 3D 2010. It would appear from class that if you had not done that originally to start, this sense wouldn't have worked because you would not have done an install. You go to Civil 3D and you are checking visual clues is what you're doing. You are checking visual clues. You're trying to get accustomed to what's going on. There is a lot to copying other people's instructions. There is a lot more to kind of figuring out, okay, this is our chance to learn the basic file structure that AutoCAD or Civil 3D uses. So it's taking a while to load here. It's going through. You are looking for one visual clue. The visual clue you will see in a second. If it's not there, then something is amiss. It might be your fault. It might be the network's fault. It could be my fault. At this point, we've only had a couple of steps. I'm going to hit cancel there. Your steps were to map the K drive, do an initial install in AutoCAD and Civil 3D, then replace your support directory on your C documents and settings and applications with what is out on the K drive. And your next step is to click on that and see that you have assemblies that are kind of in color, and then eventually that you can click here and get something like that. Now, you will see that you will continue to be able to use this set of settings later on, even after you replace some things from the delivery from the FTP site at the DOT. That all said, you close everything up. You go out to the DOT and you grab what would be 5 different zip files, which we have on our computers in the Civil 3D development directory. So I'm going to close this out. And this is what it then looks like. Out on My Computer, out in the K drive, in Civil 3D development, you have a set of zip files. Going from the top to the bottom, you replace them in the correct place, which are all in the documents and settings, except for one, which is an all users. So Civil 3D all users, you double click on that, you run it, you browse, and if you look at here, it's kind of showing you where you want it to go. And in this case, it's the right spot. Documents and settings, all users, application data, Autodesk, Civil 3D 2010, ENU. And so you don't have to even change anything. You just go ahead and hit unzip, and it will unzip it all there. This should be going right over the top. You are going to go through Civil 3D all users. You cannot do Civil 3D install directory.exe because it is going to the program files. You then do the Civil 3D per user.exe. Hit OK here. So you can't do the install directory.exe. You can do the per user, Civil 3D per user. Double click it again. Hit a run here. And if you notice there, it goes into Documents and Settings, DOT. So this is the one you could just replace with yours. 12675.181. Application data, etc. And you go ahead and hit unzip. It's going to go ahead and do it. You go the per local user and do the same thing. You're going to run. You're going to browse, and this time you're not going to browse. You can actually go into here and realize in this case you're replacing right here 12675.181. That's your number, not my number you want to put in. That is my number I'm putting in. I'm going to unzip. It does it again. And finally, you're going to do that with the Civil 3D per user content browser library.exe. So there's all kinds of different ways to do it. This way, you're just replacing the correct place as is dictated to you by the DOT out on their site. And so as they change this, so you're having to do this 6 months from now, you should be able to do it by following their instructions. The last one here is the content user. Run here. Content user, once again, you're looking and replacing essentially what is the DOT ELA with your ID 12675.181. You're the only one who has access to that on a computer. You hit unzip, you say OK. And the final bit you need to do then is to grab this link here, Civil 3D 2010 Wisconsin DOT link, and stick it someplace where you know where to find it. I would recommend on your H drive. For now, I'm just going to put it on the desktop. I'm going to pull this, right-click, copy, stick over here, right-click, paste. Now if I have done everything correctly, I can double-click on that link and hit open. It will go out to the FTP site, and it will grab the correct set of settings, which you will now check in a second. That's the be-all, end-all. That's the end of it. And it included an extra step due to the fact that some of the install here on a network install did not go correctly. So you could skip that first step, but the rest of this, after pulling that local directory into that local support directory, will work. You can get something like this. You notice off on the right side you got all your Wisconsin stuff, and your final check then is this. I'm going, you don't see it, over to File, New. It's giving me a short list that looks like that. I begin that right away. You want to go ahead and File, Save As. There's going to be a very specific set of menus that we're going to use, a whole file structure from the DOT, but right away, File, Save As, and we'll stick that down into this basic set of menus. The menus look something like this. I will show you on my H drive. 2010 Civil 3D Projects. This is what the menu starts to look like. It's got all kinds of different data in it. We're looking at the design data, we're looking at the surfaces, and this is where you store your drawing. So example, topo. So a very specific set of directory structures. Hit save there, and I will point out at this point you're pretty well laid out if you use all the rest of the DOT standards to do everything, including sheet sets. You notice everything is front-end loaded, E underscores, P underscores, and then R's. Okay, and so we'll be using E for existing and P for proposed. With that, you have sets of all kinds of settings that will work, and that's the end of it. You do that each and every time you sit at a new computer. If you're at an old computer that you sat at before, the only thing you have to be cognizant is starting Civil 3D if you're doing DOT type work with the link. Finally, I'll show you it does work still if you go through the other front door. I'm now going Civil 3D 2000. A different set of settings, something you do in other classes and you're used to. It might feel good. It's equally good in some ways, except for the fact that there's nobody maintaining that set of standards. You don't know what kind of plotter file you're doing. It seems it came in pretty nice here. You've got all the stuff without the DOT, and now when you do File, New, you see that you have that other set that's out there on the C drive. So this kind of general sense of how you lay things out, that's the process. That is about 10 minutes. You can see we will also go through and post out a PowerPoint that does the same, or I would have you go ahead and do screenshots of the particulars in this layout that do work. This will be the last time I go through it, and the expectation would be that you should be able to sit down with this video at any machine on campus and make this to work. Thanks for listening.